Hey guys, Mill here, back with another video, and if you can't tell already with the headline, we're going to be getting into the Paul George trade. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. This NBA offseason has been crazy so far. There's been so many rumors surrounding the Knicks, but this particular one was very real. The Knicks reportedly rejected a deal that would have landed Paul George from the Clippers. According to MSG's very own Alan Hahn, he stated on his show that the Knicks and Clippers were in discussion, but the Knicks thought that it was too expensive to get him and they didn't want to offer him an extension. Take a listen to it for yourself.
If you can get Paul George, it's going to cost you quickly.
Bart, they could have. They had a chance to get Paul George. They said it was too expensive. They don't want to do it. They've already backed out of that. They talked to the Clippers. The Clippers gave their what it would cost. Then Paul George says, "But I want an extension," and they said, "We're not doing that," and they walked away. So Paul George is off the table. As far as now goes, it's off the table.
Now, obviously, Paul George did not get traded to the Knicks, so the deal got declined, but it's interesting to see how Hahn worded it. He specifically said that the Knicks had spoke to the Clippers, Clips gave them what it would cost, but then Paul George asked for an extension, to which the Knicks immediately said they're not doing. A part of me really wonders if the Knicks were considering this trade before PG asked for an extension. And we don't know the specifics of the contract, what the numbers were, but I'm assuming that he would have wanted a max extension. Now here's where things get interesting. Another source specifically said which players could be involved in this trade. Per ESPN's radio host Anita Marks, she said this on her own show.
I'm hearing that what it would take for Paul George is RJ Barrett, Grimes, Fournier, which 3 first-round draft picks. So that's what I'm hearing. Are you hearing that it's even more than that?
I think what I've heard is consistent with that.
Is anyone else getting flashbacks to last summer when there was a lot of negotiating between the Jazz and the Knicks for a potential Donovan Mitchell trade, which would have most likely included a very similar package? Surely glad that the Knicks, if not willing to give that much up for Donovan Mitchell, would not give it up for a 33-year-old Paul George. Obviously, we can't deny the fact that Paul George is still one of the best players in the game. When healthy, he is one of the most dynamic two-way players. He can basically do everything on a high skilled and IQ level. Last season, he averaged 23.8 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, and 5.1 assists. But health and age are big considerations when trading for a player like him and potentially offering him an extension. As he's gotten older, the grind of playing in the NBA has definitely taken a toll of him and contributed to his injury. And one thing we know about Coach Tom Thibodeau is that he literally runs his players into the ground. We saw it all throughout last season with the 9-man rotation. The starters were playing almost the entire game. Julius Randle literally had 16 games this past season where he had to play 40 minutes or more. Are we really sure that Paul George can handle that? We don't know for certain how he would have fit in with Tibbs' playing style, but a part of me feels like it would have definitely taken a toll on him. And I'm sure that we all would have hated to be in the position where we make the playoffs and then an unfortunate thing happens where PG can't be there with us. Clippers fans are very frustrated with how their postseason went, with all the injuries that plagued them, including Paul George. Look at the players that were supposedly involved in that trade compared to Paul George in the amount of games they've played. RJ played 73 games in this past season and played every single playoff game. Grimes played 71 games this past season and played 9 out of 11 playoff games. Paul George only played 56 games this past season and he missed the entire playoffs. Let's take a look at his game log for the last 4 seasons. In 2020, he played only 48 games. In 2021, he played 54 games. In 2022, he played just 31 games. And in 2023, he played 56. In the past 4 seasons, Paul George has not been able to play more than 56 games a season. The Knicks front office definitely took that into consideration when making their decision, because do they really want a player that's not going to show up? We already have players that will show up, specifically the ones mentioned in that very same trade package, RJ and Grimes. Now, new reports literally as of today came out per Mike Scotto that there was a different kind of trade package offered at first. It was reported that on draft night, instead of RJ being included in the package, it was Obi Toppin. How can you not do that trade? If the Knicks had an opportunity to keep RJ, Brunson, Randle, and get Paul George, I don't understand why they didn't do that. I mean, it's clear now that the Knicks organization didn't want Obi Toppin to have a larger role, so I don't understand the harm in shipping him off to the Clippers. Nonetheless, having Obi in that trade discussion changes everything, but he's gone now, so that's not an option anymore. I still stand by what I said on PG's health and age concerns. If he was just 5 years younger, then the Knicks would have done this trade and we would all be rooting for it. I know some fans are going to be disappointed that we didn't get Paul George, and honestly, I am a little too, but you have to look at the bigger picture on what the Knicks are doing. They are developing their young core, Grimes, quickly, RJ, and they don't want to trade these guys away unless they're getting back something very valuable in return. I know RJ had a lot of ups and downs this past season, but what we saw in the playoffs was very promising, and I have to stand by him and say that he has a lot more potential that we wouldn't be able to see if we traded him. And I could say a very similar thing about Grimes. I did think he took a leap this year. He had a big stretch of games where he was averaging 15 to 20 points. Obviously, we didn't see that in the playoffs, but we know he can do that now. And I think this upcoming season is a big test for all of our young players. I would love to know how you guys feel about this in the comments. Tell me if you agree with the Knicks on declining this trade offer or if you would have accepted.